forgot to tell you I'm in the witness protection program. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for that song. That was just marvelous. That was just marvelous. It goes right along with what we're going to say. Oh, I better turn this on. There's a button here. Is that better?
Yes.
Yeah. It's nice to be heard. This morning's message title is Our Divine Self. And it comes from the book that Melinda Wood Allen suggested to us years ago, God Makes the Rivers to Flow. And basically what it is a compilation of spiritual writings from all different faith backgrounds, pointing us to the truth that we're saying the same thing, that our goal is the same thing. And we say it in different ways, and we express it in different ways, but our goal is to know the divine. To know the divine and know it in our lives. And so this morning, the reading that came to me, or that really struck me, comes from the Bhagavad Gita. And I know I was going to mess that up. Bhagavad Gita. And I practiced over and over again. And it's chapter 4 of that writing, and it says, "Those who know me as their own divine self break through the belief that they are the body and are not reborn as separate creatures. Such a one, Arjuna, is united with me, delivered from selfish attachment, fear, and anger, filled with me, surrendering themselves to me, purified in the fire of my being. Many have reached a state of unity in me. As they approach me, so I receive them. All paths, Arjuna, lead to me." The background for this writing, the Bhagavad Gita, there was a battle going on somewhere around 3000 BC. A large battle between, and as usual, it was the same family, two sides of the same family who happened to be leaders and happened to have armies, decided that they were not happy with each other. And so they wanted their armies to solve the problem. And they sent them out to battle at Kurukshetra, the Battle of Kurukshetra. And so they sent these people out to this battle to decide who was right and who was going to be the winner in this battle. And one of the people in this scenario, in this battle, is a man called Arjuna, a man named Arjuna. And Arjuna was purportedly to be the best archer in the known world at that time, a prince. And Arjuna is getting ready to head into this battle. And because it is between families, he knows people on both sides. He has friends, loved ones on both sides. And yet he's going to have to pick a side and wage war. His charioteer, the one who's driving his chariot, his name is Krishna. His name is Krishna. It is God incarnate. It's God visited on the earth in the form of a man. And he's driving him on this, and Krishna loves Arjuna. He loves who he is. He shares his life with him. He wants to impart to him all these secrets of life. And so Arjuna stops at one point in their battle, and he's just beside himself. And he looks at Krishna and he says, "What do I do? What am I supposed to do?" And Krishna, has wanted to talk to him and enlighten him all this time, gives him the Bhagavad Gita, tells him the story, tells him what the divine is all about, tells him what life is about, describes to him this idea that those who know me as their own divine self. He lays out all these secrets, all these wonderful realities of living in the divine. And Arjuna goes, "Yeah, but what about this battle? What about the conflict that's going on in my life? Let's focus back on, this." And in that sense, Arjuna is all of us.
Yes.
Arjuna is all of us. When we come to know the divine, when we come to know these wonderful secrets, even in our meditation, we can find ourselves just getting still and enjoying the quiet of this, and all of a sudden, doggone a visa bill. You know? And we find ourselves going down, like, oh yeah, what am I going to do? And we get distracted. And this is what's happening with Arjuna. And Krishna is trying to reach out to him, trying to reach him and help him to see that life is more than that this beyond this conflict, and understand the divine. So he starts off, those who know me as their own divine self. Now what a picture of unity. What a picture of oneness, a statement of oneness. I don't know about you, but I have difficulty articulating oneness. It always has a dual shade to it. Like, I have a relationship with the divine. Well, now there's two of us. Okay. Let's see, I'm one with the divine. Well, with means there's still two of us. But, how do we express oneness? How do we express this unity? And I think this statement does it wonderfully. It's that those who know me as their own divine self. In other words, who I am is the divine. The divine expresses as me. The divine says, I am. And there I am. That is the essential of oneness, of unity with the divine. And he goes on to describe what we realize, what we come to realize when we know this oneness, when we know this unity with the divine, what life looks like as a result of that. And he says, those who know me as our divine self break through the belief they are their body. There is an illusion that we live in. We look at our bodies and we see, oh, we are separate. We are different. There's a boundary between us. And that's an illusion. Our true self within us is one with the divine. We have these shapes, these forms that we walk around in and live out. And if we're not careful, we get caught up in this illusion that this is who we are. That this body is who I am. And this body, because it's who I am, it's different than you. And so there's a separateness, and there's a difference. And what he's saying is, when I realize my unity, I recognize that the body is not who I am. The body is not who I am. And he goes on to say, and those who understand that are not born as separate creatures. There is a part of the Hindu tradition in reincarnation that says each time you come back as another being, and each time, until you learn the lesson, until you learn this truth of divinity, you come back as another person. And whether or not we believe in reincarnation or not, we experience this. Every morning we wake up, and we decide every morning when we wake up, are we going to wake up as separate creatures? Are we going to wake up as separate creatures from each other, separate creatures from the divine? Or are we going to know that oneness? Are we going to live in that unity with the divine? And so in the same way, when I recognize that divinity, I'm freed from that cycle of waking up. There are times, I had a spiritual mentor of mine who used to say, every night I go to bed a saint, and I wake up agnostic. So he has certain disciplines that he goes through in the morning, meditation and such, to remind himself, oh yeah, I'm divine, that's right, I forgot. And so he practices his discipline to put himself back into that mindset, back into the reality of his self. And he goes on to say that when I'm in that place of oneness, of divinity, I'm delivered from selfish attachments. I'm delivered from selfish attachments. There's an idea in Hinduism that action, there are two different ways of approaching action. One way of approaching action is with a focus on what the results of that action are going to be. What's in it for me? When I do this, when I take this certain action, what am I going to realize? And what am I going to get out of it? What is going to come my way? And what is going to result from me taking that action? And when we're not living in divinity, we're trapped in that mindset. that mindset that says, well, what, because if I'm not trapped in that mindset, the other way to look at it is, I'm one with the divine. I'm one with all that is. I don't need anything. So the action I take, the love I take, I create. I create my universe. I co-create my universe. I'm one, and so I take action to love and to build and to give. Without this idea of, well, am I going to get a tax write-off for that gift that I did? I want to make sure that I'm doing this right. Instead, I'm free from that selfish attachment. And if you've been in that, there is a weight. There's a weight on your mind and on your heart when you're caught up in that selfish attachment way of thinking. When you're thinking, well, I've got, this has to result in this, and this has to result in that. And there's a chain or whatever, a constraint on inside the heart when I'm trying to be creative, when I'm trying to give, when I'm trying to love, and yet my focus is, am I doing this right? Because I want to win here. I got to make sure I win something here. But when I'm one with the divine, I'm free from that selfish attachment. I'm free to love. I'm free to give without worrying about what's going to come back my way. And what a marvelous freedom. Marvelous freedom. You're 10 pounds lighter. You just without having to go on a diet. You just feel lighter. Life moves more easily. It says we're also delivered from fear. Again, if I'm one with the divine, with all that is, and there's nothing else other or beyond, what do I have to be afraid of?
Yes.
What do I have to be afraid of? It is all me, and I am all it, and there's a oneness. It's only when I believe that there is a separateness that I start believing in fear, because I have this gulf between us. I want to make sure I maintain, first of all, because I love you, okay? I love you, but I just want to make sure that I don't lose anything in loving you, okay? And so there's this fear that comes to us when we're not living in that place where I know that I'm divine, because again, there's a belief that I'm limited in my resources. Yes. And you want what I have. I know you do. It's like you're driving on the highway, and there's somebody driving 3 miles an hour faster than you coming up on your left, and you're like, all he wants to do is pass me. I know he does. And so, you get, that's my bugaboo. It's traffic. And so they say, well, if I go 3 miles an hour faster, he can't catch me. And so now I'm lost in that fear. And all of a sudden, we're separate and we're different, and they're going to take a place, they're going to somehow take something from me. And that's the root of fear, is that somehow I'm going to lose something I have, yes, or not get something that I think I need. The root of fear. And it also says I'm delivered from anger. Wow. Anger, usually the expression of fear. This anger at someone, at something, is the expression of that fear. When I'm afraid of this distance between us, the way I maintain that distance is I explode. And I'm angry, and I keep the distance. I keep an explosion in between you and I, and I guard. And most of the time, I'm guarding my own mind. I'm guarding my own mind from saying I'm not one with that. I don't have to worry about that. I'm not one with them, and I'm going to keep that separate. I'm going to keep that illusion of separation, that illusion of differentness. And yet, when I'm in the divine, I don't need that. I don't need that. I don't need that explosion to convince myself that I'm safe. I don't need that explosion to keep myself from feeling afraid, because I'm one with all of you, with all the people on this planet, with the divine. What a neat feeling. I was telling Maggie about being on an elevator with 3 or 4 other people, whatever, and looking at them and saying, God is delighting in being these people, and just all of a sudden feeling one. It's like, wow, that whole sense of oneness, of sharing in that space. So that when I am in that place, when I see myself as one with the divine, then I'm freed from those things, from those selfish attachments, from that fear, from that anger. And boy, that anger can just wear you out. It can just wear you out. You've woke up the next morning after being angry the next day, and you're like, man, I'm hungover. You know, and it's just that emotional, boy, what a lousy way to have spent the day. And a lot of times, the only person that hears my anger is my steering wheel. You know, so it's it's just not a fun way to live. It's not a fun way to live. Instead, when I live in that place of oneness, united with the divine, united with each of us, again, I live that life of abundance, that life of knowing that all that is, I am. And so there's no rating system, there's no judgment, there's no, well, you know, not you, not now. I just am. And that goes along with, similar to the first part of Psalm 23. It says, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. And if I'm in this place of one divine, I don't want. Because it doesn't matter how much I have. I can have everything I'd ever need in the world. But if I'm caught up in want, there's no satisfying that. There's no satisfying want. Because it has no basis in satisfaction. It has no basis in reality. And so it has no basis in satisfaction. But when I'm in the divine, I'm freed from that, the pain of wanting something beyond who I am and what I am. And the way he talks about how to maintain that, and all of us, I think, end up being in one of these two forms, one of these two bodies. We're either like Krishna, we're one with the divine, and man, you know, we're there. Or we're Arjuna, and we're going, yeah, but, you know, that's really nice. Those are really nice thoughts. That's sentimental thought. I just really like that. But, and so we can let all these rabbit trails, go down all these rabbit trails, trying to say, I want to get this answered first. You know, eventually, yes, I believe it, and I'm going to buy it. It's wonderful, but there's some questions that I want to get answered first. There's some things, you know, and there's some people. And they need addressing. There are some people that need addressing. And if I'm one with the divine, I'm not angry anymore, and I'm not going to be able to address these people the way they need to be addressed. So I think I'm safe. I think I'm right in holding out on this one today. Just for now. Just for now. Because, I believe it. You know, it's marvelous. Yes. But I've got some things to do. I've got some people to talk to. And to deal with. And what he says is, I am responsible for which one I want to be today.
Yes.
I'm responsible for which one I want to be today. Yes. PJ did a marvelous last week talking about living on purpose. And the things that are involved in living on purpose, the inventory, taking a look and saying, what is it that's standing in that way? When we do the meditation, very often the person leading the meditation will say, remind us that, you know, some thoughts, stray thoughts are going to come in, and just gently, without judgment, set them aside. But at some point, if they're the same thoughts that keep badgering me, I need to take a look and say, why does this keep popping up? What is it that keeps, that this keeps coming up and deal with whatever that is? I was joking with some people that the only thing that God ever told me in a meditation was that you forgot to move the clothes from the washer to the dryer. And so if I want to be free of that distraction in meditation, I move the clothes from the washer to the dryer, and it's no longer a distraction. It doesn't say, nice job. The voice doesn't bother me by saying, you really did that well. There's just a distraction. And so this art of meditation, this practice of meditation, of spending time in oneness with God, in silence and stillness with God, that is how it's a practice, it's a discipline, where I make it more consciously, myself more consciously aware of that oneness with the divinity. By practicing meditation on a daily basis and putting myself into that, I make that a much more conscious, so that the first thing that comes to mind is not, anger and separation and that sort of thing. I'm like, oh, it's amazing. When I'm in that place, I don't even notice that they're driving by. I don't even notice what the people would ever, or if I do, I go, okay. But when I'm not there, boy, so this practice of meditation, of reminding myself on a daily basis of what it is that the divine is, what is that place of divine? Not necessarily a feeling. It goes beyond a feeling, but an awareness, a consciousness, if you will, that the divine and I are one. And practicing in that time of meditation gives me more and more, I more and more easily find myself in that place where I know that the divine and I are one, that I am one. And so, again, each of us today gets to decide where we want to be. Do we want to rest in that place of oneness, in that awareness of our oneness, or get lost in the conflict, have the focus on the conflict and get lost in that? And that is, the neat thing is that the invitation is always, and the truth is always that we are divine.
Yes.
All I do is I lose conscious awareness of it. It doesn't stop me from being divine. God doesn't walk away going, come back when you're ready. God doesn't, that's not what happens.
Yes.
I just forget. I forgot. I could have had a V8. So that is the invitation today, is to take the time, take the opportunity to remind ourselves of our divinity on a daily basis, through meditation, through prayer, and that inventory stuff. And life really opens up. Life really opens up.